Hello everyone. We are in our second section. We will talk about being. From my perspective, the essence of being, in terms of the training I provide, is to be a Richfluencer. What does Richfluencer actually mean? Well, rich means wealthy in English. Fluencer comes from the root word fluence, which means influence, or to affect. Our goal is to achieve financial wealth and inner wealth through the education we receive, while also spreading this wealth to the people around us. You don't need to impose anything while doing this. The more you change yourself, the more the enlightenment you provide to your surroundings also changes automatically. Thanks to this enlightenment, more people begin to see their own path. Your lights actually become a mirror of the path for them. I always say, yes, my profession is that of a financial consultant and independent auditor, but my most beautiful profession is being a Richfluencer. It is my individual activism in personal finance. Therefore, the thing that should always come to your mind regarding becoming is to be a Richfluencer, because while it is nice to become financially wealthy as an individual, if those around us do not receive their share of that sufficient wealth, and if the people around us cannot reach a level where they can share our happiness, we will always live with incomplete happiness. Richfluencers do not want this. Richfluencers do not want anything that will dim their light. They want their own lights to shine and spread light to those around them, so that all of my partners can become radiant. Therefore, the Richfluencer is based on approximately 4 fundamental themes. The most important point among these is continuous education. Richfluencers are insatiable when it comes to education. They empower themselves with up-to-date knowledge and skills. Our second most important point is courage. Courage means taking steps for people to rediscover their own beliefs on the journey to financial freedom. One aspect is the use of capital. While utilizing this capital, the goal of all Richfluencers is to provide individuals with honest and actionable financial information. And finally, today we will particularly focus on helping individuals effectively utilize their internal capital. We all come into the world with a certain potential and mission. However, the complexities of our lives and the chaotic environment we live in are enough to lead us to chaotic thinking. When we achieve the most difficult thing and turn inward to our essence, our internal capital is revealed. Our internal capital is limitless, infinite, and derives its power from the Creator, whether you believe in God or Allah. This is a great light, a great energy, and this energy will continue as long as the universe exists and you exist. Therefore, our goal is actually for the individual to turn inward, to reveal themselves and use their internal capital to the maximum extent to develop their own potential. Another concept I particularly want to emphasize is courage. Courage is an essential part of our lives. The root of all the suffering we experience in the world today lies in the fact that the courage of the wicked is much greater than that of the good. Yes, we must be encouraged, but to be encouraged, we need to establish some fundamental things. There is no courage without knowledge. We cannot attain the concept of courage when we live our lives based on what others say, without truly understanding the truth and lacking the right perspective. First and foremost, we must equip ourselves. We need to elevate our knowledge to a global level and bring it to a worldwide vision. Therefore, for me, courage means taking the steps necessary to achieve your financial goals. This courage also means putting knowledge and technical skills into practice to achieve your financial goals. As I said, a job only provides you with both financial and inner wealth if it holds great meaning. A person's happiness or wealth alone does not necessarily create happiness. Therefore, my goal and the aim of the secrets of the Richfluencer I want to cultivate is to ensure that financial knowledge and its formation are spread throughout the entire community. I am one of those who believe that financial knowledge is intentionally not taught in this world. However, we need to demand learning more actively. We must take the initiative ourselves. If they are not teaching, we need to insist on learning. We are embarking on a path towards greater financial freedom. Change is truly difficult. I can understand everyone. We are all trying to change and transform under certain challenging conditions. But let us not forget that a diamond is extracted through difficulties until it is polished, and in the end, it emerges as a magnificent jewel. It is really hard for us, especially for those of us who are used to living in a certain way, to change. I understand that. But remember this, starting is much more important than being an expert. And remember, every step you take will bring you one step closer to financial freedom. In other words, everything you do will return to you many times over as profit. First and foremost, we need to adopt the right mindset. Our world is filled with people who set out to change the world, but ultimately end up going nowhere. They want to change everyone else, but they have no intention of changing themselves. When it comes to money, most people, as you know, are struggling to do what the rich do. They acquire the possessions that the wealthy have. They try to have spouses like them. They attempt to buy the same types of cars that they own. They send their children to the schools that rich children attend. In short, they work very hard for money. Then they think they can become rich by buying things that will make them appear wealthy. Of course, the result of this is that they are borrowing more, working harder, and working even more to pay off their debts. This becomes a pitfall, and in the end, the only thing they acquire is debt. However, when you come to the side of the wealthy, you see that they do not do that at all. The rich acquire active assets, not debt. An active asset means investing money in a property, similar to earning rent. That asset not only provides you with appreciation in value while it sits there, but it also generates cash flow. The rich do not act like the poor. The rich acquire assets, not debt. They are making third parties pay off their debts through their assets. In other words, the rich do not pay off debts. They invest in financing in a way that allows their debts to be paid. Unfortunately, this method does not work for the poor in the long run. Most of the time, they do not get anywhere with it, only wearing themselves out and exhausting their resources. We colloquially refer to this as competing with the rich. In this process, the wealthy become even richer with greater financial intelligence. The poor, on the other hand, are drowning in a sea of debt, exhausted from trying to compete with them. In this process, the rich become wealthier, with greater financial intelligence, while the poor, exhausted and worn out, only accumulate debt. Let me open a parenthesis here, because I can currently hear something like, "What do you say to the poor and the rich?" from you. Now, in my perspective, the concepts of poor or impoverished and rich or wealthy are somewhat different. From my perspective, poverty is a complex web of issues that is not limited to mere material insufficiencies. If we approach poverty simply, it means having more problems than solutions. In my opinion, being crushed under the weight of problems that one cannot solve is what constitutes poverty. When it comes to recognition for the rich or wealthy individuals, I still view it from the same perspective. Wealth is not merely material sufficiency. It is the ability to act simultaneously within a holistic framework that encompasses spiritual, physical, and mental well-being. It means being able to see all the problems encountered as natural symptoms of development processes and as gear shifts towards goals, and having the ability and will to overcome these problems. In short, the poor are at the mercy of their fate, which is controlled by money, while the rich control their money, which is their fate.